Here's a summary of the key points made in Michael Moss's book Salt, Sugar, Fat.
Moss investigates how major food companies like Kraft, Coca-Cola, and Nestle use strategic formulations of salt, sugar, and fat to make their products addictive and drive overconsumption. He reveals the intense focus these companies place on enhancing flavors to trigger bliss points that hook consumers and keep them coming back for more. For instance, scientists at Nestle found they could induce strong cravings by balancing sugar, fat, and salt in their products at specific ratios.
Food giants also employ deliberate strategies to engineer foods that exploit our cravings for salt, sugar, and fat by combining these elements in precise proportions to create addictive products. These companies meticulously design their offerings to be crave-worthy and addictive through a fusion of salt, sugar, and fat, which are calibrated to exploit human preferences for energy-rich foods. By enhancing the sensory experience with generous amounts of these components, they make their products irresistibly satisfying. Additionally, food manufacturers go beyond ingredient engineering by processing food to strip it of its natural essence, deceiving consumers and leading to health issues like weight gain and hormonal imbalances. Sugar plays a significant role in fueling cravings and addiction, as the brain's pleasure-inducing hormone dopamine is triggered by sugary foods, creating a link between happiness and consumption. This connection fosters addiction, making it challenging to resist overly sweet temptations. Furthermore, the food industry utilizes priming techniques through sensory cues in advertisements to trigger specific behavioral responses and increase food consumption. These strategies exploit innate taste preferences for sweet, salty, and umami flavors while leveraging disgust reactions to avoid unfamiliar foods. Overall, food companies manipulate ingredients and marketing tactics to create addictive products that capitalize on human cravings for salt, sugar, and fat. Food companies conduct extensive research on human taste buds and psychology to find the perfect combinations of salt, sugar, and fat for maximum palatability and consumption. This science of processed food helps explain the massive overeating of products like chips, fast food, and soda in the American diet, despite health risks. Moss alleges food executives were aware of potential health issues like obesity arising from formulated products, but prioritized profits over public health. The book provides an inside look at how major companies manufacture hyper-rewarding junk food using meticulous ingredient manipulation. Moss argues for accountability and transparency from big food, updated regulations, and consumer awareness to drive change. In summary, Salt, Sugar, Fat exposes the intentional efforts by processed food companies to engineer irresistible products that override natural satiety and hook consumers, resulting in dangerous public health impacts. Here is a more in-depth summary of the key points made in Michael Moss's book, Salt, Sugar, Fat. On using salt, sugar, and fat to boost flavor. Food companies invest heavily in research and employ scientists to study flavor profiles and perfect combinations of salt, sugar, and fat that maximize palatability. Tests identify ideal ratios that trigger hardwired biological cravings in humans. On engineering, bliss points. Companies identify bliss points, precise levels of salt, sugar, and fat that create maximum desire and craving. Achieving the bliss point keeps consumers coming back. For example, scientists at Nestle found they could induce strong cravings by balancing sugar, fat, and salt in frozen meals. On taste bud research and psychology. Corporations conduct extensive tests on human taste buds and psychology to optimize flavors. They uncover concepts like sensory-specific satiety, how varied flavors prolong eating and adjust recipes accordingly. This science explains the success of junk foods. On prioritizing profits over health. According to Moss, executives were aware that processed foods high in salt, sugar, and fat contributed to issues like obesity, but prioritized sales and profits over public health. They lobbied heavily against regulations and transparency. On manufacturing hyper-rewarding foods. Using this detailed science, major food companies manufacture extremely rewarding, additive junk foods. They mask undesirable flavors and engineer combinations of salt, sugar, and fat our brains crave, helping explain overconsumption. On the need for accountability and change. Moss argues companies must be held accountable for health impacts. He advocates for updated regulations, transparency, consumer awareness, and a shift in corporate priorities to drive positive change.